How's it going, my peeps? It is now time for the Raw results / highlights and review video. I'll go over the results, some of the highlights in my opinion, and give you guys my thoughts, my review on the show. So it kicks off with the Authority coming out for an announcement on the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And it is that Daniel Bryan can actually not compete at Money in the Bank. He's not cleared to compete this entire month. They even showed the doctor that performed Daniel Bryan's surgery on the Titantron, and he was the one actually to deliver the news that Daniel Bryan is not cleared to compete for the month. And due to that, they strip him of the championship. It's official now. Daniel Bryan is no longer the champion, and Stephanie McMahon rubs it in and says, so Brie Bella quit for nothing. And then they announce that, because of that, the Money in the Bank ladder match will be for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And then the camera pans up and you see the World Heavyweight Championship and WWE Championship hanging up above the ring. And they announced that Del Rio was the first qualifier. He won the qualifying match on Raw, so he's the first one to be qualified in the match. And also the second person that's in the match is Randy Orton, and that there's also going to be some qualifying matches for the other participants. And then Triple H moves on to the Shield. They show what happened last week with Seth Rollins, betraying the Shield. He says that Seth Rollins adapted and the Shield will perish tonight. That tonight we will witness history because the remaining members of the Shield, Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, will be in a 6-man tag team match against the Wyatt Family. And he says, given that the Shields, when Seth Rollins was with them and they took out pretty much everybody on the roster, he says it's going to be hard for the Shield to find a partner. So he says it's pretty much going to be a handicap match, or at least we can assume that. And he ends it by saying that Seth Rollins adapted and that tonight the Shield will perish. And after that, we get the first qualifying match for the Money in the Bank WWE World Heavyweight Championship ladder match. Man, it's a long title for a match, but yeah, it is Bad News Barrett versus Sheamus in a match where I was really rooting for Barrett, but deep down I knew Sheamus was going to win, and I ended up being right. Sheamus won with the brogue kick out of nowhere. But it was a good match. Really enjoyed the match, actually. The match came to an end when Barrett was just beating up Sheamus on the apron mainly. Sheamus went for the battering ram, which is like the shoulder tackle, the springboard shoulder tackle that Sheamus does from the apron onto his opponents. But Barrett hit him with a headbutt, and then from there he just beat up Sheamus on the apron. He shoved him onto the steel post. And then he got Sheamus in the ring and started beating him up in the corner. Referee separated them, but then Barrett went back and he kicked Sheamus in the head a couple times. Referee separates them once again so he doesn't disqualify Barrett. But then Barrett goes back to Sheamus, and Sheamus out of nowhere hits the brogue kick, covers him, and gets the win. And then after that, the Wyatt family cut a promo on the Shield saying that they'll burn tonight. And afterwards, it was Rusev's match. It was Rusev versus Zack Ryder before the match, and before Rusev comes out, of course, Lana comes out. And this was pretty funny. She compared Obama to Vladimir Putin, and she first off showed the workout footage of Obama working out at a gym, and then she went on how Obama's weak. And then she showed pictures of Vladimir Putin practicing judo, so she says Vladimir Putin, on the other hand, is strong. Anyways, they introduced Rusev. Rusev takes on Zack Ryder, beats him in under a minute and a half or a minute with the accolade making him tap out. And then afterwards, they celebrate, and the Russian flag pops up behind Rusev. And then after that, it was Goldust and his new tag team partner. This time was R-Truth versus Ryback. But once again, Ryback pick up the win when Goldust hits a spinebuster on Ryback. But then Curtis Axel comes up from behind, rolls up Goldust, 3 counts, and Ryback win the match. Once again, Cody was watching backstage. And then after that match, we saw Layla backstage getting her makeup done. And then out of nowhere, Summer Rae comes in with a gallon of milk and she pours it over Layla, and then she grabs Layla and smashes her head against the table a bunch of times, and then just throws her on the ground and pours makeup all over her, and then Summer Rae just leaves. while Layla's there, like, crying. And then after that, we get 3MB in the ring, and they're like, oh, so the Shield, would be out here talking, but then all of a sudden the Shield's music hits, and they come out, or at least, Ambrose and Reigns come out, and they just get in the ring. They don't try and surround the ring or anything. They just get in the ring right away, take the fight to 3MB. On the outside, Ambrose throws Drew McIntyre over the barricade, and then they throw Jinder Mahal onto the barricade, and then once Drew McIntyre gets up, Dean Ambrose flies over the barricade onto Drew McIntyre, and then Heath Slater, he's just leaving. He's trying to get up the ramp. Well, he is actually getting up the ramp, but he isn't looking behind him, and he's like signaling for the rest of 3MB to come with him, to just bail out. And then once he turns around, out of nowhere, he gets speared by Roman Reigns. The camera angle, though, they didn't show really the spear all that well the first time around, but then they showed the replay, and it was a pretty cool spear from Roman Reigns onto Heath Slater, and then Dean Ambrose grabs the microphone. Roman Reigns gets back in the ring. They talk about Seth Rollins. Ambrose talks about how they were one of the most dominant groups in the WWE, and he says, but they weren't healthy. They had a cancer, and that cancer was Seth Rollins. And he goes over how, when he gets his hands on him, he's gonna tear his nose, or actually tear his ears apart, and break his nose, take his teeth out. And he also says, they'll be listening tonight when Seth Rollins explains his actions and just lies, and they hear Triple H's words coming out of Seth Rollins' mouth. And then he passes on the microphone. Actually, he doesn't pass off the microphone. He throws the microphone down. I guess he forgot that Reigns, was going to follow up. But, so, Reigns grabs the microphone. Actually, I think Ambrose grabs it from the ground, or the mat, and gives it back to Reigns. And Reigns talks about how he's going to take out, Triple H and Randy. And talking about Triple H, he says, the King of Kings. Well, once he gets his hands on Triple H, they're going to play their own version of Game of Thrones. And then he throws the microphone behind him, and we see Seth Rollins also watching backstage the promo, and he's wearing a suit. And then after that, it was the Usos versus Damien Sandow and Fandango. Damien Sandow comes out to Fandango's theme. He actually comes out with Fandango and Layla. Layla still has the makeup on her. And Damien Sandow came out dancing, first of all. And he came out in this, like, skin-tight, I don't even know what it's called, but it's like a onesie pajama underwear. Like a onesie underwear. It was just weird, but, anyways, he danced around in the match, and looked like he was doing some ballet, but, in the end, the Usos, one of the Usos hits a super kick on Damien Sandow, tags in the other Uso, who hits the splash on Damien Sandow, covers him, and the Usos defeat Fandango and Damien Sandow. And actually, the crowd was chanting, "Let's go Sandow," or Damien Sandow. I'm not sure which one, but bottom line, they were chanting for Damien Sandow in the match. And after that, it was Bo Dallas versus Xavier Woods. And at some point in the match, when Bo Dallas has the advantage, he tells Xavier Woods, "It's okay, you're doing your best." And anyways, towards the end, Xavier Woods goes for a springboard move or actually, it was a springboard into turnbuckle into some sort of move, but that move got interrupted in midair by Bo Dallas. He stopped him with like I don't know what it was, because it wasn't a spear. It was like just Bo Dallas hitting him, I guess, with his arms, taking him off the air, and then he followed that up with the Bodog, covered him, and won the match. After the match, he goes ahead, shakes Xavier Woods' hand, and gives him a hug. And then we get Paul Heyman in the ring, and he talks about Brock Lesnar conquering the streak, and mentions how, he's from Minnesota, and he says he agreed with his client tonight that they would celebrate his history-making WrestleMania win. So he gets the people thinking that Brock Lesnar's gonna come out by saying, "Help me introduce the man that got the WrestleMania, the history-making WrestleMania victory, But then he says, in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and then introduces Cesaro. And yeah, Cesaro comes out, and then Rob Van Dam comes out. It's Cesaro versus RVD in a Money in the Bank WWE Championship, or you know what I'm talking about, a qualifying match for the championship ladder match at Money in the Bank. And the match ends when Rob Van Dam goes for his springboard sidekick on Cesaro, but Cesaro catches up to him and pushes down on the second rope, so RVD kind of falls down, but he's still got his legs in between the ropes. So Cesaro grabs Van Dam by the leg and then gets on the apron, and he pulls RVD's legs towards the steel posts, so it hits RVD's crotch, and then Cesaro gets back in the ring. He follows it up with the neutralizer, covers him, and Cesaro has qualified for the ladder match at Money in the Bank. And then it came time for Seth Rollins' explanations. So Michael Cole was in the ring to interview Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins comes out to a new theme song. It's not the Shield's theme song or Evolution or anything like that. And basically he says, everybody's talking about last week as if it's like a big deal and people want an explanation. Talking about it as if it's a big deal, but he says it wasn't a big deal to him. It was simply, him doing what was best for business, what was best for Seth Rollins' business. And he says, Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose saw it as like a band of brothers, but he didn't see it that way. He saw them simply as business partners, and all he did was sever or, end the business relationship. He says, on their own, they're nothing without him. He says Ambrose is a lunatic, and Roman Reigns, without direction, without somebody to lead him, he's worthless. And he also says, that after the match with Evolution, he learned something, and pretty much he learned that, you've got to adapt. And to the people that say he sold out, no, instead he bought into what Evolution has been saying, adapt or perish, and also he says, what about, when I was saying believe in the Shield? He says what he meant by that really was believe in Seth Rollins. He then pretty much says that now that he's explained himself, he's waiting for Ambrose and Roman Reigns to come out, since they said after Seth Rollins would explain his actions, they'd come out and, beat him up. So he grabs the chair that he was sitting on and throws it on the outside, shoves the microphone onto Michael Cole. Michael Cole leaves, and now he's waiting for Ambrose and Reigns. They come out. They come out actually from the stage, or actually not the stage, but like on the side of the ramp. And he's waiting for them in the ring, looking like he's about to fight. But he's not going to fight both of them. So once they get in the ring, the Wyatt Family signal pops up. Lights go out. Once they come back out, once they come back on, you have Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. They fight it out with Ambrose and Reigns, but the Shield get the better of them, take them out of the ring, and then they're about to go after Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins runs out of the ring, and then Bray Wyatt also gets back in the ring, along with the Wyatt Family, but Cena comes in for the save, and they take out the Wyatt Family out of the ring. And Cena, Reigns, and Ambrose stand tall in the ring. And then afterwards, it's announced that Cena is going to be their tag team partner in their match against the Wyatt Family. And then we get Paige versus Alicia Fox. And towards the end of the match, Paige grabs Alicia Fox. And Alicia Fox came out with Oksana, so Oksana's out at ringside. Paige grabs Alicia Fox and throws her onto Oksana, kind of, because Oksana was at ringside, like right, next to the ring. So she throws Alicia Fox, like, in between the bottom rope and second rope, so Alicia Fox's head hits Oksana's head, and then Paige follows it up by locking on the Scorpion Crosslock, and Alicia Fox taps out, so Paige wins. After the match, Alicia Fox is, like, knocked out. Oksana kind of, gets her back up, and once she's back up, she snaps on Oksana, starts hitting her, and then she goes ahead, grabs, like, bottles of water and some popcorn, and she pours the water on Oksana. It grabs the popcorn, eats some of it, and then just throws the rest, and she grabs, she spits out the popcorn that she put into her mouth before, and then she grabs some of the popcorn on the mat and, forces Oksana to eat some of it, or just puts it in her mouth. And then afterwards, she like apologizes to Oksana and hugs her. Pretty weird segment after the match. Anyways, after that, it was Jack Swagger versus Santino. Zeb Coulter had a sign saying to deport Santino. And as far as the match goes, you had a moment where Zeb Coulter slapped Swagger like he did before. Except this time it motivated him more. He goes back in the ring, starts beating up Santino. And then shortly after, Santino prepares for the Cobra, but Jack Swagger just pushes the Cobra aside and then follows it up with the gut-wrench powerbombs on Santino and wins the match. And then afterwards, does the We the People with the crowd, or actually the crowd does it with Zeb Coulter and Jack Swagger. And then backstage, we see Goldust sitting around and Cody pops up, and that kind of shocks Goldust, or, he doesn't see him coming. And then Cody tells him he found him a new partner for next week, and it's somebody he's never seen before, and somebody that's going to magnify the magnificence of Goldust. And then he leaves, leaving us wondering who Goldust's partner is going to be for next week. And then we see Triple H and Stephanie McMahon talking backstage, talking about the Shield, talking about John Cena. Stephanie says, he's talking about Cena, how, last week he interrupted her, and this week he's, standing up for the Shield or helping out the Shields. Triple H tells her not to worry about it, and then Vicky comes out to them, and then she wants to celebrate with them. She got some champagne in 2 glasses, she pours some, and basically she wants to celebrate the end of the Shields, but then she sneezes on the glass, and then Stephanie kind of, slaps the glass out of Vicky's hand, and tells her she's fired her before, and to be careful or she'll fire her again. So then after that, it was time for the main event: John Cena, Reigns, and Ambrose versus the Wyatt family. It was a pretty long match. In the end, Ambrose, or actually not in the end, but towards the end, Ambrose was getting beat up on, by the Wyatt family. He eventually tags in Cena. Cena, he comes in, he picks up some momentum, but then eventually the Wyatt family get the better of Cena, and they start beating up Cena, and Cena's now trying to tag in Reigns. Eventually he gets to tag in Reigns. Reigns comes in, cleans house, hits his running drop kick on the outside on both Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. And then he gets back in the ring, and in the ring I think Rowan takes him down, but then Dean Ambrose takes down Rowan. He throws Rowan out of the ring, but then Rowan takes out Ambrose. Rowan gets back in the ring, and then Cena tries to stop him with the Attitude Adjustment, but Rowan gets out of it. He pushes Cena towards Bray Wyatt, who hits Sister Abigail on Cena, and then Bray Wyatt gets overconfident. He poses, and then once he turns around, Roman Reigns hits him with the Superman Punch. He then grabs Rowan and throws him out of the ring. Dean Ambrose hits a suicide dive on Rowan on the outside. So then it's down to Reigns and Luke Harper inside the ring. Once Reigns turns around, though, because he was watching Ambrose hit the suicide dive on Rowan, once he turns around, he gets a super kick out of nowhere from Luke Harper. And then Luke Harper appears to be preparing for the discus clothesline, but instead, Reigns hits him with a spear, covers him, and wins the match. After the match, we see Triple H and Seth Rollins look on backstage at, Cena, Roman Reigns, and Ambrose celebrating their victory. And the show ends with just, Reigns and Ambrose celebrating. So, what did I think about tonight's show? Any highlights? As far as highlights goes, I think I'd say Seth Rollins' explanation on why he did what he did, and also the Shield just beating up 3MB and afterwards Ambrose delivering his promo. And also the spear that Reigns delivered to Heath Slater on the stage. It was a pretty sick spear, pretty cool spear. So pretty much the 2 Shield segments were the highlights for me. As far as their match goes, and I'm talking about the main event match here between the Shield and the Wyatt family, or at least Reigns and Ambrose and Cena versus the Wyatt family. The match started out like really action-packed. But then the match was just afterwards. The match was pretty slow. It was not. It definitely wasn't as good as the past Shield versus Wyatt Family matches. It was like I said, pretty slow-paced match. Whereas a lot of the past Shield matches against the Wyatt Family, you'd have a lot of spots in there where there was a lot of action going on. This one, in the beginning, like I said, lots of action, but then it really slowed down. And also, something I noticed in the match, I don't know how anyone wouldn't be able to notice it, but Cena, and this is something that Cena does very often, you could hear him just calling out moves. When he was in the ring with Bray Wyatt, you could clearly see him, not just hear him, but clearly see John Cena telling him to, like, hit a suplex. I heard suplex, and then shortly after, we see Bray Wyatt hitting a suplex on John Cena. And it happens often, it seems, with Cena, where you often see him, he'll say a move, you'll hear him say a move, and then the move happens shortly after. What else? Oh yeah, as far as, like, match of the night, I'd say, for me, I enjoyed the Sheamus versus Barrett match. Out of all the matches on tonight's show, I'd say that was the best match. And also, I thought what Damien Sandow did on tonight's Raw was the best thing he's done since, he started coming out each week as, like, a different character, a different persona. This was a bit funny with his avatar, and it was just, I still don't know what what that avatar is called, but while it wasn't, like, crazy funny, it was decently funny. And as far as a rating for tonight's show, I'd give it like a 6 on 10. So that is about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can click that like button down below. I'd really appreciate it. With that said, I'm out, guys. See ya.